Okay, ladies, I thought we would try something a little bit different today. I actually have my camera and tripod set up, and what I'm going to do is I actually saved and refrigerated some of the urine from my peak yesterday, and that has come back down to room temperature so I can use it for testing. I have FMU urine from this morning, which would be the day after my second peak, and then I have third morning urine from today as well. And I'm hoping what we're going to see is either a positive or almost positive on the urine that was from the second peak day, and then a progression getting lighter with each of the subsequent urine samples. So this test right here is going to be from the second peak day. This one will be the FMU from today, and this one will be the third MU today. I'm going to dip them all at the same time so that the developing time on them is the same. So let me get these dipped really quick. Okay, this one is third MU, FMU, and the urine from my second peak day. So we will watch and see what happens with these urine samples. Uh-oh. Just trying to get you guys a closer view, and I almost tipped the camera all the way over. Okay, as we can see, the control line has come up on all three of them. We still have a lot of dye streaking across these tests. So that's one thing that actually, these tests are actually the Big Fat Positive brand ovulation strips that I was sent to review. And I actually like them quite a bit. They're a lot wider than the wondfos, which is something that I really like about them. And whenever I tested them with a wondfo, they were just as accurate, at least for me, in my surge level. So you can see some lines are starting to develop on the test area. I think my light is creating a little bit of a glare. So we're going to let these develop for 10 minutes and see what kind of results that we get. So far, the peak urine sample test looks like it has the darkest line on it, And the third MU from today looks like it has a fairly dark line, which it's fairly normal for me to have fairly dark lines right after ovulation, but they won't be quite positive. I normally have a progression from light to dark going up to ovulation, and then from ovulation to ant flow, they normally progress down from dark back to light. I hardly ever have an ovulation strip that doesn't have any kind of second line on it. So these are developing quite nicely. Yeah, let's see, if I take my hand down, then you can't quite see those second lines. Maybe if I stick something in front. Okay, I hope that's a little bit better, even though it kind of turned the lighting a little bit yellow. I actually don't want these testing strips to touch each other. We're at about the 7-minute mark, and as you can see, there's a pretty big difference between the peak day urine on the bottom and the FMU from today, which is 2 days out from my peak. The third MU, one up at the top right here, is showing that I still have pretty high levels of LH in my system, but not high enough for it to be called a peak. And I actually don't even expect this one right here to show a blazing positive, because it was from my second day of peak, and according to my basal body temperatures, I actually ovulated on the first day of peaks and not on the second day. So I would expect that this bottom one would be an almost positive, but not quite positive. Now, these are the 2 sticks from, if I can get them in here, the day that I actually did peak. And the One+Step, actually, after letting it develop for a little longer than the instructions say, it actually did show a peak on it. It just took longer to develop than what was recommended by the manufacturer for peak time. This is the One+Step strip. If I can get it to focus in here, you can actually see that that test line is quite a bit darker than the control line, so that would indicate a positive. That is very positive. The wondfos, for some reason, whenever they give a positive after they have dried, they do not look positive anymore. You see that one, most people would look at that and think that it was an almost positive, but since it has dried, and I know that it was blazing positive when it was wet, I've noticed that the wondfos, after they dry, that the test line becomes a little bit lighter than it was initially. So this was the wondfo that was taken on the first day of peaks. Okay, we've reached our 10-minute mark. As you can see, just as I suspected, this bottom one is not quite positive. It was from my second day of peaks, and I know that I had already ovulated. So my LH should have been coming down by then. So this strip is actually accurately showing what my LH should have been doing. This one is from today, and I am currently, I believe 3 DPO. So for a line that that's actually, or that light, that's actually pretty normal for me. And your LH hormone gets a little bit more concentrated later in the afternoon, and that would explain why this stick is much darker than the first morning urine stick, but it still is much lighter and not considered a positive. If I put this one next to the second day of peaks, then we can see just a teeny tiny bit of change between them, with the third morning urine being just a tad lighter than the second day of peaks was, which is exactly what I would expect out of these LH strips. So I'm actually quite pleased with the results that these have shown today, because it shows me that they are very accurate in detecting what your LH level is. Again, this is not a positive result. Sorry. This is not a positive. You want the control line, which is the line that is closest to the dipstick part of it, not the handle.